Hi, this is Leonard. This is kind of a discussion a little bit different than an actual workout, but we're just going to discuss kind of the benefits of sprint training without actually doing a workout. And some of these are going to be somewhat similar to benefits of just vigorous exercise in general. And then we'll get later in the video into benefits that are more unique to sprint training itself versus other training protocols. So the first benefit of sprint training that we'll mention is it improves or can improve cardiovascular health, vascular function, and can actually help to lower blood pressure, which by default lowers the risk of heart disease. Next, sprint training can also elevate post-exercise metabolic rate. This is a term referred to as EPOC, or excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. So basically, your metabolic rate or calorie burn is elevated for a period up to 24 hours after strenuous physical activity, such as sprint training. Another reason is it also improves insulin sensitivity and glucose regulation, which can reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. As well, sprint training can boost what's called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a crucial protein which supports learning, cognitive health, and memory. Also, sprint training confers mental health benefits, which include the production of endorphins, which improve mood, reduce anxiety and depression, and then also stress management. Another benefit of sprint training is it improves or can improve VO2 Max, mitochondrial function, and what's referred to as muscle oxidative capacity, which promotes metabolic flexibility and as well efficient energy production. Okay, now we're going to get into a little bit more of kind of unique benefits of sprint training, which contrast to maybe just benefits of regular vigorous activity in general. But there are some unique benefits of sprint training that you don't necessarily see from, say, more moderate types of exercise, such as walking or jogging or golf or maybe like yoga, things of that nature. Okay, one unique benefit of sprint training that is not necessarily exhibited by other forms of training is it does recruit fast twitch muscle fibers, which enhance strength, power, rate of force development, and neuromuscular coordination, and it trains all of your type 2 muscle fibers. The thing about the rate of force development with sprint training is that typically the movements are within like 80 to 120 milliseconds, whereas in your resistance training you might have something in the range of 300 to 800 millisecond type movement patterns. Okay, another unique benefit of sprint training is it exposes limbs to high velocity movement that is really not available with other types of training methods, and whether it's resistance training, swimming, or certainly walking and maybe a yoga class or something like that. So again, the high rate of limb velocity is just something that is not replicated in most other types of another unique benefit of sprint training is that it heavily loads what's referred to as the stretch shortening cycle, which includes the Achilles tendon, the hamstrings, the plantar fascia, and the hip flexors. Okay, another somewhat unique benefit of sprint training is that it increases anabolic hormones such as growth hormone and testosterone, which enhances protein synthesis and can actually counteract the effect of age-related muscle loss. Now, this is probably more beneficial in combination with resistance training, but you're certainly going to get hormonal benefits from sprint training and say the combination of sprint training and resistance training that cannot be found with just walking or jogging or lighter lower intensity forms of exercise. Okay, another unique benefit of sprint training is it creates a high rate of force loading, which stimulates bone density and connective tissue resilience. Now the one caution here is that this is when sprint training is I guess implemented in kind of a gradual or a gradual progression. So in other words, you don't want to jump from doing low intensity exercises, say just as walking, and then commencing a max velocity type protocol. You do need to kind of gradually increase intensities over a period of weeks, so that don't incur injury. But certainly there's another unique benefit of sprint training is it does enhance functional fitness, and these attributes can include things such as coordination, reaction time, injury resilience, and also reflective stiffness. Now I found sometimes even when I'm going for a walk, I may stumble over something. It's something in the walkway, but I catch myself because I've been doing sprint training and I have a quick reaction time as well as forces that I can apply to ground to keep myself from falling. So even that would be a personal analogy there of kind of that functional fitness that you get from sprint training to prevent injuries that might otherwise occur without that sort of training. Okay, and then one somewhat last benefit here we'll mention of sprint training that's somewhat unique is you don't really need a gym membership to do it. So it's more accessible. I mean, basically, if you can find a park, you can find a hill, you can find a soccer field, a softball field, even a beach. Sometimes I've even used, just even maybe in a, low traffic area, maybe a median that has, a grassy area, that sort of thing, in a residential zone, certainly not in like I said, other more trafficked areas, but there are many options for doing sprint training without the need for gym membership. And again, you work the entire kinetic chain, so you've got your glutes, your hamstrings, your quads, hip flexors, calves, as well as in many upper body muscles that are involved